I'm back again. So Jason from eWheels responded to me actually pretty quickly, offered to send new battery boxes and asked me about whether these were stripped out to basically determine whether it was salvageable or not. So that's pretty cool on their part since the batteries are a fairly expensive component of my wheel that I bought from them. But anyway, to answer this question, I found one of the bolts where it's still really obvious that the metal is still in there. So this white here is the aluminum from the inside of these holes. This blue up above it, if you can see here, my light's not great. You can see the blue Loctite. That Loctite never engaged. It was never actually in any threads. The white portion of this down at the bottom here, this is how much was actually engaged with the low quality aluminum of this battery box. And for scale, it is almost exactly 1/8 of an inch, perhaps a hair more, but also there's a little taper on the end of this bolt, so that part's not really engaged either. So basically an 1/8 inch of threads. And this is an M5.8 16 millimeter bolt, but it has these washers on it. I don't think these washers really serve much purpose because this plate right here, you could just as easily run flush against this plate. The washers aren't going to provide any more strength than the metal that you're already going into. So it's not like it provides an anchor. And if it's meant to be a lock washer, it doesn't have enough spring in it. Like you can see, it's basically essentially flat. It's not actually doing anything. So all it really does is those two washers added together, let's arrange this here, are basically the same thickness as the length of the threads that are engaged. So if you took those washers off, you would theoretically have twice as many threads engaged. The problem is, if you do that and you fully put it in there, you're reaching essentially the bottom of this blind hole that they threaded. And I know a little bit about machining, and having a blind hole like this and then threading it is a little bit of a challenge, and it's easy to mess up the threads at the bottom. So probably, I think what they did was they were probably doing that originally, and it was just a guess. And then they had some problems with stripping it out, because if you go too far, you get too much pressure back from the bad threads at the bottom. And then they stripped their bolts out. And so to prevent that from happening, they decided to just not put them in quite as far. So they added these washers. Also, these washers don't seem to come off very easily. They seem to be like from the factory screwed on, and these threads are not any stronger than the metal of the washers. So if I tried to back it off, I would basically destroy these threads. Overall, it's a pretty bad bolt. Initially I thought maybe I could salvage these battery boxes by basically buying myself some better quality bolts, like some, as Jason said, 12.9 bolts, which they didn't have at my hardware store. Just when I was there tonight, I can go to a better hardware store. So I just have this zinc plate one, which is still actually a higher quality than this bolt, but it's not the best quality. And I did a little experiment to see how much I could screw in there. And I can, in fact, catch threads equal to about amount of thread that was in there before, almost, and get it flush. I actually experimented by doing that on the good side, where here's the bolt, I took it out and I put one of these in there. This is a stainless steel one, actually, which I think is probably better than that zinc plated one, but it's still not as good as the 12.9. That would be better to use. But I screwed that in there with one thin washer instead of these two washers, and it worked fine. And I tried it here with no washer at all, and it was possibly pushing the edge, because that last turn before it gets flush seems to start getting some resistance, so maybe butting up against the bottom of the threads in that box. And I don't want to push that too hard, because I don't want to strip out the box that's still okay. And see, I was able to screw that one in flush with no washer. Actually, that one went fine. But I think these battery boxes are probably, could be replaced, but also the holes up here have some play in them. I think it would be possible also to maybe machine this out to a slightly larger thread, just drill a new hole. You have to be careful, because you don't want to drill into the batteries themselves, obviously. But basically just make a larger diameter bolt hole, and maybe with some coarser threads, and put a 12.9 bolt in there, like maybe a imperial size instead of metric, whatever the next one up. I think it'd probably be like a number 10. But anyway,